Boops are eternal. Chapter 6. Never, always, scratch an alicorn. Luna kept staring at your finger with this distant intensity. You couldn't really tell if she was trying to hide a smile or if her frown was just the result of the scrunching. The ears didn't really help much, and they were trapped down in abject surprise. I mean, hey, you weren't completely inept when it came to understanding these ponies. Maybe you should actually start saying that in confidence when you consistently get the name right. I mean, you're never gonna understand them, are you? Anyways, maybe you should have done something like this when she was awake and knew how to react. But, I mean, you live only once, right? You still have to ask yourself how that old expression is back home now, though. Still, they're words worth living by, so I never asked promptly, but what's with you guys freaking out when I do this? It's sort of weird. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's cute beyond belief, but it's really weird too. You test her will by wiggling your finger against the tip of her nose. Her expression keeps changing between an uncertain frown, an odd smile, and a bit of fluster. She can't even seem to get the words out either. She was trying to resist, but ultimately failing too. You're not really complaining though. The longer this goes on, the more you're laughing inside. Okay, so let's kick it up a notch. You bring out your other hands and guide it to the jaw spot. You're going down doing what you love, and you start to scratch. This is the best decision you've ever made. In about 2 seconds, her eyes snapped open, closed again, and she rolled over onto her side and she melted into your palm. Your finger may have gone flying again, but this was a definite improvement. A reminder to the future to force them to scrunch with the force of your boopmaker. And the longer this went, the closer you got to your limit. Now this was just priceless. Nothing could improve this moment.
More.
Scratch that, it was improved. The goddess horse was leaving the surface of this planet. You intensify it for a moment, eliciting what could be taken out of context as something very different than what it actually was. Now I am become anonymous, tamer of princesses. Again. You broke, and you started to laugh, and it only got louder by the moment. Eventually, your lungs just couldn't handle it anymore, and you were stuck there heaving for air. You finally understood Celestia and Steve's pain. A pure laugh, without any ulterior motives. You just wanted more of it. Well, it looked like the princess was needy, and you couldn't even give yourself a moment to desperately grab at your chest for air. Or she was coming back to reality, and something you wouldn't allow just yet. You needed to savor this. This would kind of sound a little bit sadistic, actually really sadistic. You're not too sure how to feel about that. Just back to scratching. And she's starting to purr like a cat now. What even is this world? I mean, you're not complaining, but seriously, this situation is beyond ridiculous. But now to make it more ridiculous. With your open hand, you tentatively removed the tiara from her head and rested onto the table onto the opposite side of your bed. You then proceed to scratch her ear onto the same side as before. She just flipped over onto her back with the big, goofiest smile ever. You're sure you heard the sound of bliss somewhere. Oh, and she knocked a glass off the table on her side. It startled her enough to give her a little bit of a pause, but you figured that this stupid moment was coming to an end anyway, so you gently removed your hands before lightly tapping her nose once more. That seemed to be the final eye-opener as her head tried to bolt upwards again, and she ultimately ended up knocking herself off your bed with a yelp. You started to laugh again. Oh, that was fucking priceless. You clear an actual tear from your eye. Oh god, I think I'm gonna puke from this. You can't stop the flow of laughter. Your diaphragm is in physical pain. You're even moving some of the scratches on your chest and stomach, but you still can't stop yourself. It only gets worse when Luna eventually stumbles to her hooves, face red as physically possible for a pony that dark. For the second time today, your lungs fail you. You're pretty sure that if anybody else were still asleep in a room nearby, you kinda just woke them up.
Well, if you would excuse us.
She promptly made her grand escape, voice quivering to the full extent someone tired could. Tiara-less, you might add. You hear a commotion into the hall, and the door opens back up. A blue glow covers the tiara, and it zips out of the room with the finesse of a falling giraffe. only knocking over about 20 things on the way out. And now, you're alone. Don't mind me as I lose control of my lungs for the 3rd time today. Your diaphragm may leave this hospital more damaged than when you entered, and maybe a little bit more punctured. You really do have execution on the brain at all times, don't you, Anon? Don't you? Well, that was interesting. Luna had no clue how to react to a situation like that, much less the aftermath of it. Even as she tried to run her regalia to where they rightfully belonged, she frequently found herself stumbling as she heard Anonymous's laughter echo through the halls, repeatedly. This was probably the time to teleport to save face, but she neither had the energy nor the focus to do it successfully. What had just occurred? That was certainly not something normal in any reality, dream or otherwise. Bringing a hoof to her muzzle only revealed one thing that she hadn't noticed until she approached the exit. It was equal parts confusing as it was enlightening. She was smiling, truly smiling, for the first time in a very, very long time. Yet again, she had to ask herself,
Who exactly is this Anonymous?
and perhaps even more importantly,
What are his intentions?
the dream realm hadn't revealed as much as she'd thought. Few, if any, of his actions felt forced in that room. Or did that mean that he was comfortable with her? I mean, he was certainly trusting, and that would make her job easier at the very least, right? So why did every ray of hope only seek to deepen the pit in her gut instead? Finally, the report had arrived. The situation was turning out well for the guards in Ponyville. In particular, many of the officers had pointed out the exemplary performance of the Night Guard. Apparently, their shifts never allowed a single assault to occur, and they were able to bring any stragglers to the temporary holding site outside of Ponyville. Luna would be happy, that's for sure. One misdemeanor would not represent her entire guard. But due to the stabilizing situation, a quick glance at the clock revealed that it was a bit too late in the morning for Celestia to get away with a quick visit to the hospital. The court would begin very soon, at which point she wouldn't be able to visit until the evening. Her schedule was packed, with no stretching room, which might have had something to do with the sudden terror of a runaway Everfree. She sighed.
I never truly get any time to myself. Maybe this is all just a fool's errand. Celestia, you're talking to yourself again.
Still, the memory of that moment of happiness kept coming back to her. After feeling such rejection, there was some pony who took a moment to regard her neither as the princess nor any form of goddess. She hoped. If she could give him a sense of comfort, would he treat her like that again? It had been a year, and despite her age, she knew how much some pony, or, well, some human in this case, could change in a year's time. All she had was just hope.